Good morning, Ma'am Helen. We are the group 4, and my associates are Russell Ray Marte and Kay Quinnet Laquarin, and I am Giovanni Babarin. And we are here to present to you thank you, the case study or slash systematic review. Here we have the case study systematic review is a form of a qualitative research that is used to look at individuals. It is a great way to improve a learning experience because they get the learner involved, and it is also a well-defined methodology makes it less likely that the results of the literature are biased, although it does not protect against publication bias in the primary studies. In this case study, the objective is to investigate and understand the factors that drive or hinder the adoption of renewable energy technologies in a specific context. In this systematic review, the objective is to synthesize existing research to provide a more comprehensive and unbiased assessment of the impact of mindfulness meditation on mental health outcomes in adults. In summary, case studies and systematic reviews are relevant to the field of research methods because they exemplify different research approaches, address methodological challenges, inform research design, and contribute to evidence based practices. Understanding these methods is essential for researchers and scholars in the field of research methodology. A case study is an in depth examination of a specific real life situation or phenomenon. The background typically provides context and rationale for conducting the case study. A systematic review is a comprehensive synthesis of existing research on a specific topic. The background section typically explains why the review is necessary and what knowledge gaps it aims to address.
Research methods and techniques for case studies. Qualitative data collection. Case studies often involve qualitative data collection techniques such as interviews, focus groups, observations, and document analysis. These methods help researchers gather rich contextual information. Participant observation. Researchers immerse themselves in the study context, often for an extended period, to observe and interact with participants. These techniques provide deep insights into behaviors and experiences. Triangulations. Researchers use multiple data sources and methods to cross-verify findings, enhancing the reliability and validity of the case study. Longitudinal studies. In case where changes over time are critical, longitudinal case studies involve collecting data at multiple time points to track developments. Number 5, framework analysis. This structured approach helps researchers systematically organize and analyze qualitative data, making it suitable for case study data. Number 6, pattern matching. Researchers compare pattern in the data with theoretical proposition or existing models to validate or refine theories. Research methods and techniques for systematic reviews. First, literature search. Systematic reviews require comprehensive literature searches using database, search engines, and other sources to identify all relevant studies. Techniques like Booleans, operators, and controlled vocabulary are used. Meta-analysis. When feasible, systematic reviews may conduct meta-analysis to statistically combine results from multiple studies, providing a quantitative summary of findings. Number 6, publication bias assessment. Researchers may employ techniques like funnel plots or statistical tests to assess the potential for publication bias in selected studies. Narrative synthesis. In case where meta-analysis is not possible due to heterogeneity, narrative synthesis is used to summarize and explain the findings of included studies qualitatively. And lastly, grading the evidence. Systematic reviews often employ systems like grade to assess the overall quality and strength of the evidence. Data collection. Case study. First, qualitative data collection. Case study often rely on qualitative data, which involves gathering non-numerical information to explore a specific phenomenon. Common includes interviews, observations. Second, triangulation. To enhance the validity and reliability of data, case studies often use triangulation, which involves collecting data from multiple sources or using multiple methods. This helps cross verify findings and reduces bias. Third, longitudinal data. In case where changes over time of interest, researchers may collect data at multiple points in time to capture the evolution of the case. And lastly, framework analysis. Qualitative data collected in case studies are often analyzed using a structured approach like framework analysis, which involves coding and categorizing data to identify patterns and themes. Systematic review. First, literature search. Systematic reviews starts with a comprehensive and systematic literature search to identify all relevant studies. This involves using specific search terms, databases, and search engines. The aim is to minimize selection bias by finding and including all available evidence. Number 2, inclusion or exclusion criteria. Researchers establish clear inclusion and exclusion criteria to determine which studies will included in the review. Criteria may include study design, publication date, population characteristics, and interviews exposure of interest. Number 3, data extraction. Researchers create structured data extractions form to collect key methods, participants, results, and other relevant data. Number 5, meta-analysis. If the data is sufficiently homogeneous, meta-analysis techniques are used to statistically combine the results from multiple studies to provide a quantitative summary of findings. Number 6, narrative synthesis. When meta-analysis is not possible due to data heterogeneity, a narrative synthesis is conducted. This involves summarizing and explaining the findings of including studies qualitatively. And lastly, publication bias assessment. Researchers may assess the potential for publication bias using techniques like funnel plots or statistically tests to evaluate the likelihood that studies with positive results are more likely to be published?
Ah, ako na nga ni kay
Okay,
so,
ikaw na.
data analysis, or data analysis in case study. Data analysis in a case study is qualitative and focused on understanding the specific case in depth. Here's a general process for data analysis in a case study. So number one, the data reduction. Researchers begin by organizing and reducing the collected data, which may include transcripts from interviews, field notes from observations, and documents from the case context. This step involves systematically reviewing the data and selecting relevant portions for analysis. Number two, coding. So, coding researchers use a coding process to categorize and label data segments. Codes are often developed based on recurring themes, patterns, or concepts emerging from the data. This step helps identify key elements of the case and allows for systematic analysis. Number three, theme development. Codes are grouped into border themes or categorized by categories. Researchers identify overarching patterns or trends in the data and explore how these themes related to the research questions or objectives. Number four, theor- theoretical framework. Depending on the study's theoretical approach, researchers may use a theoretical framework to guide the analysis. This framework helps interpret the data in light of existing theories or concepts. Number five, constant comparison. Throughout the analysis process, researchers continually compare new data with previously coded data to refine codes, themes, and concepts. This iterative process ensures data saturation and rigor in analysis. Number six, narrative construction. Findings are synthesized into a coherent narrative or description of the case, emphasizing the key themes, insights, and the case unique characteristics. And lastly, the validation. To enhance the credibility of the analysis, researchers may use these techniques such as member checking, where participants review and confirm the accuracy of the finding, or peer debriefing, where external experts provide feedback. Uh, in, in systematic review, the data analysis is primarily quantitative and aims to synthesize and summarize findings from multiple studies. Here's how data analysis typically proceeds in a systematic review. Number one, the data extraction. Researchers extract relevant data from included studies based on predetermined criteria. This data often includes effect sizes, sample sizes, study characteristics, and outcome measures. Number two, quality assessment. Included studies are assessed for their methodological quality and risk of bias. Quality assessment tools or checklists are used to evaluate the reliability of the evidence. Number three, meta-analysis, if applicable only. If the data is sufficiently homogeneous, the researchers may conduct a meta-analysis. Uh, in number four and number five, it is usually based on one uh, potential publication using statistical tests or panel plots. Number six, narratives, narrative synthesis. In cases where meta-analysis is not possible due to heterogeneity, a narrative synthesis is conducted. Researchers provide a descriptive summary of study findings, discussing similarities, differences, and patterns across studies. Lastly, grading the evidence. quality and strength of the evidence are often assessed using systems like grading of recommendations, assessments, development, and evaluation, which assign levels of evidence based on study quality and other factors. Our examples are in case study, uh, the transformation of Zappos delivering happiness to Halocracy. The background is Zappos is an online shoe and clothing retailer embarked on a radical organizational change by adopting management philosophy known as Halocracy, which replaced traditional hierarchical structures with self-organizing teams. Uh, use research method is the qualitative data collection, triangulation, paper. Our systematic video, our example is effectiveness of mindfulness-based interventions for reducing symptoms of anxiety and depression in adults. A meta-analysis. The background is anxiety and depression are prevalent mental health concerns. This systematic review aims to assess the effectiveness of mindfulness-based interventions in reducing symptoms of anxiety and depression in adults. The use of research methods are literature search, the inclusion exclusion criteria, which was uh, explained by Kay, data extraction, meta-analysis, and the publication bias assessment. Uh, our challenges and limitations. Challenges and limitations of case studies, limited generalizability. One of the primary limitations of case studies is that findings are often context specific, making challenging to generalize the results to broader population or situation. Number two, subjectivity. Data collection and analysis in case studies can be subjective as they rely heavily on the researcher's interpretation of qualitative data. This subjectivity can introduce bias. Number three is the resource intensive. Case studies can be resource intensive in terms of time, effort, and financial resources. Number four is the sample size, small sample size. Case study typically involve a smaller number of cases. Number five is the difficulty in replication due to the uniqueness of each case. Ethical considerations in case studies, informed consent, confidentiality, minimizing harm, respect for autonomy, the challenges, limitations of systematic reviews, the publication bias, heterogeneity, incomplete or low quality data, time and resource intensive, the scope and specific, specificity, the ethical considerations in systematic reviews. These are the four considerations: the inclusion criteria and bias, conflict of interest, patient privacy, reporting standards. And our conclusion in this PowerPoint that in summary, data analysis in a case study is qualitative and focused on understanding specific case, while in systematic review, it is quantitative and aimed to synthesizing and summarizing findings from multiple studies. The choice of analysis method depends on the research objectives and the type of data collected. The number two conclusion is both case studies and systematic reviews employ rigorous data collection methods to ensure that the research process is systematic, transparent, and unbiased. The choice of data collection methods depends on the research questions, study objectives, and the nature of the data being collected. So, any questions regarding from our PowerPoint? If none, here is our references, which is www.slideshare.net, systematic literature review, and our case study is also from slideshare.net by Mireya Mizushima, and that will be all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, group mates. And that is the group 4. Thank you, Ma'am Helen. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, nakamute kaya.